Most men wait for a green light that's never coming. Not because she's not interested, but because she's waiting for him to act like she is. If you've ever frozen mid-conversation, wondering, does she like me? That hesitation is costing you more than you realize. What I'm about to share will shift how you show up with women entirely. These aren't tricks. This is what happens when you stop auditioning and start assuming you're already in. Let's get into it. 1. Your uncertainty is louder than you think. You think you're hiding it. You're not. When you're unsure whether she's interested, it shows in everything. Your eye contact, your timing, the way you laugh a little too quickly. At her jokes, women are incredibly tuned into hesitation. She doesn't hear your words as much as she feels your energy. An uncertain energy feels like you're asking her to do the emotional labor of reassuring you. That's exhausting before anything's even started. When you assume she's into you, that static disappears. You become clearer, calmer, and she notices immediately. This clarity also helps you communicate more honestly and prevents mixed signals that confuse both people. 2. She's already decided. You're the one still deliberating. Here's something most men don't realize. Women often know within the first few minutes whether they're open to you. While you're still gathering evidence, she's already waiting to see what you'll do with the opportunity. Your analysis isn't helping, it's stalling. She made her choice. Now she's watching to see if you'll make yours. The longer you deliberate, the more her initial interest fades. Not because you did something wrong, but because you didn't do anything at all. Momentum matters in attraction, and hesitation drains. It quickly. 3. The question you keep asking yourself is killing the moment. Is she into me? That question running on a loop in your head pulls you out of the conversation. You stop being present. You start performing, and she feels the shift. Suddenly, you're not with her. You're watching her for clues. That surveillance energy is the opposite of attractive. Drop the question entirely. Replace it with a simple assumption. She's interested until proven otherwise. Now you're free to actually connect instead of constantly evaluating. If you're someone who's done waiting around for signs and ready to just go for it, drop decided in the comments so I know who's actually applying this. 4. Confident men don't wait for permission to flirt. There's a reason women describe attraction as something that just happened. It's because the men who sparked it didn't ask if it was okay first. They assumed the context allowed for playfulness, and they played. You don't need her to signal before you tease her. You don't need a clear invitation before you hold eye contact. A beat longer, assuming attraction gives you permission to act on it, and action is what creates chemistry. Waiting for approval kills it. 5. Your hesitation reads as disinterest to her. This one surprises most men. You think you're being respectful by holding back? She thinks you're not that into her. When you second-guess yourself, she doesn't see caution, she sees ambivalence. And ambivalence feels like rejection. So, she protects herself by pulling back to. Now, you're both retreating from something that could have been real, all because you hesitated and she misread it. Assume interest and you eliminate that misfire completely. 6. She wants to be chosen, not auditioned. When you're trying to figure out if she likes you, you're essentially auditioning her for the role of woman who's interested. She feels that, and it's deeply unappealing. What she actually wants is to feel chosen, desired, claimed. Not in an aggressive way, but in a way that says, I already know I want to talk to you. That certainty is magnetic. It tells her she doesn't have to prove anything. She can just enjoy being wanted. 7. The energy shift when you stop seeking. Validation, pay close attention to this one. The moment you stop looking for signs she likes you, your entire energy changes. Your shoulders drop, your voice slows. You stop filling silences with nervous chatter. You become grounded, and that groundedness is incredibly attractive. Women don't fall for men who need constant reassurance. They fall for men who already feel sure, not arrogant, just settled. That shift alone changes how every interaction unfolds. It makes conversations feel effortless instead of forced. 8. Why playing it safe feels insulting to her? You think holding back protects her from unwanted attention, but here's how she experiences it. He doesn't think I'm worth the risk. Playing it safe communicates that you don't find her attractive enough to potentially face rejection. That's not flattering. It's deflating. When you assume she's into you and act accordingly, you're saying you're worth the vulnerability. That's the compliment she actually wants. 9. She can't relax until you've decided. Women often mirror the emotional tone you set. If you're uncertain, she stays guarded. If you're evaluating, she performs. But the moment you decide, the moment your energy says, I'm in, something shifts in her. She can finally stop wondering where she stands. She can stop managing your perception. She can just be. Your assumption creates her permission to relax. And relaxed is where real connection happens. 10. Assumption creates the space for her to respond. When you assume interest, you make the first move emotionally. You're not waiting for her to prove something before you engage. That generosity opens a door. Now she has something to respond to. Most men wait in silence, hoping she initiate, but she needs you to go first. Not with words necessarily, but with energy. Assume she's interested. You've just given her a reason to show you she is. 11. You're not risking rejection, you're risking boredom. Men avoid assuming attraction because they fear rejection, but the real risk is much quieter. Nothing happens at all. She gets bored. The conversation stays polite but flat. You both leave feeling vaguely disappointed. That's not safety. That's slow failure. Assuming she's into you creates tension, momentum, something. Even if you're wrong, at least you created a moment. Playing it safe just creates forgettable interactions. 12. The difference between arrogance and quiet certainty? This isn't about being cocky or presumptuous. Arrogance says, of course she wants me. Look at me. Quiet certainty says, I'm going to treat this like there's mutual interest and see where it goes. One is loud and performative. The other is calm and grounded. Women can feel the difference instantly. Arrogance repels, certainty attracts, and certainty doesn't require proof, it just requires a decision. 13. What happens when you stop monitoring her reactions? Most men are running constant surveillance. Did she laugh? Was that a real smile? Did she lean in? That monitoring pulls you out of the moment and puts you in your head. When you assume she's interested, you stop watching for evidence. You start actually engaging. Your responses become natural instead of calculated. She feels the difference. Suddenly, she's with someone who's present, not someone who's performing for a grade. 14. She mirrors the story you tell yourself about her. If you believe she's probably not interested, you'll act distant, guarded, low investment, and she mirrors that. If you believe she is interested, you'll be warmer, more playful, more open, and she mirrors that too. The story you tell yourself becomes the story she responds to. This isn't magic. It's just how humans work. Choose the story that serves you both. Assume the better version. 15. The man who assumes gets the answer faster. Here's the final truth. Assuming she's into you doesn't guarantee she is, but it gets you to the answer faster. You'll know quickly whether she's receptive or not because you actually made a move. The man who waits and wonders can spend weeks in ambiguity. The man who assumes finds out in minutes. One path leads to clarity. The other leads to what if. You already know which one serves you better. Assuming she's interested changes how you show up, but it only works if you can actually read what she's giving you back. Because once you stop second-guessing yourself, you start noticing things you missed before. Subtle things? The signals she's been sending that didn't register when you were too busy wondering, and that's where most men still get it wrong. Not because they lack confidence, but because they don't know what to look for. The next video breaks down the quiet signs women use when they're genuinely interested. The ones that are easy to miss if you're not paying attention. English auto-generated asterisk. In the next part, we go deeper into what those quiet signs actually look like in real interactions, because assuming interest only works when you stay socially aware and emotionally present. Many women do not express attraction loudly or directly. Instead, they communicate it through small, consistent behaviors that are easy to miss if you are distracted or overly focused on yourself. These signals are subtle, but once you learn to recognize them, they become impossible to ignore. One of the first signs is how she invests attention. When a woman is interested, she doesn't just listen politely. She remembers details. She brings things back up later. She asks follow-up questions that show she was actually processing what you said, not just waiting for her turn to speak. Attention is currency, and when she gives it freely, it means something. This isn't about intense staring or exaggerated reactions. It's about consistency. She stays engaged even when the topic isn't exciting. That's interest. Another overlooked signal is how comfortable she becomes around you. Attraction often shows up as relaxation. Her body language softens. Her movements become less guarded. She may lean in without realizing it or stay close instead of creating distance. She doesn't rush to fill silences because she feels safe letting the moment breathe. Comfort is not boredom. Comfort is trust beginning to form, and trust is a prerequisite for attraction. Pay attention to how she responds emotionally, not just verbally. When you tease her lightly and she plays back instead of shutting down, that's a green light. When she mirrors your tone, your pacing, or your humor, she's aligning with you. This mirroring happens unconsciously and is one of the strongest indicators of rapport. She's syncing with you because she wants to be on the same wavelength. Notice whether she gives you access to her inner world. This doesn't mean or trauma dumping. It means she reveals opinions, preferences, and personal stories that she doesn't share with everyone. When she volunteers information instead of keeping things surface level, she's inviting you in. Attraction often shows up as openness before it ever shows up as flirtation. Another key signal is effort. If she's interested, she makes things easier, not harder. She responds, she participates, she helps the conversation flow instead of forcing you to carry it. Interest doesn't mean she does all the work, but it does mean she meets you halfway. When a woman is truly uninterested, interactions feel heavy and one-sided. When she's interested, things move naturally. Timing also matters. Watch how she behaves when the interaction could end. If she lingers, extends the conversation, or finds reasons to keep engaging, that's intentional. People make time for what they value. If she consistently stays a little longer than necessary, that's not accidental. That's choice. It's also important to understand what interest does not look like. Politeness is not attraction. Courtesy is not chemistry. Being friendly does not automatically mean she wants something more. The difference is energy. Interest has warmth, responsiveness, and curiosity. Politeness feels contained and neutral. Learning to tell the difference protects you from both false hope and unnecessary self-doubt. The goal is not to analyze her behavior under a microscope. The goal is to stay present while noticing patterns. One signal means nothing. Consistency means everything. When multiple signs line up over time, you can trust what you're seeing. That's when assumption becomes grounded confidence instead of blind optimism. When you combine assumption with awareness, something powerful happens. You stop chasing validation, but you also stop ignoring reality. You act decisively, but you adjust when needed. You stay open without being attached. That balance is what creates attraction that feels natural instead of forced. This is where most men level up, not by becoming louder or more aggressive, but by becoming more attuned. You assume interest, you engage fully, and you observe how she responds. If she leans in, you continue. If she pulls back, you respect it, and move on without resentment or self-blame. That's emotional maturity, and it's deeply attractive. In the next section, we'll talk about how to respond when the signs are there, how to escalate without pressure, and how to stay grounded whether the answer is yes or no. Because confidence isn't about always winning, it's about knowing you showed up fully, clearly, and without fear.